Well, yet another change had to be made. This piece here, the taper from this point here to here wasn't shallow enough. It was too wide, so I had to thin it out, which meant pulling this whole entire piece off here, which is all right because the way it was done before, it was just kind of built up and built up from different layers of shit. So this way I broke it off and just put these nice clean strips on, which will make it nice and clean inside here as well. Just got to trim it. No, I already did trim it to it, and bondoing in there, which has to be sanded. I did glue the edges on so you can see the thickness of the ship now. But another little weird ass anomaly is these pieces here, top and bottom, these pieces are the same. But for some reason, I don't know how, an extra set of these were made with it when I had them laser cut, but the bottom ones are not as wide as the top. Not by much. It's just maybe like 1/8 of an inch. So it's like, what the hell? So the easiest thing to do is to add to the bottom one here, widen out the bottom just a little bit. So the existing cockpit from my old kit will work, which will not put it at 1/72 scale, though I don't think it might be closer to 1/96 scale, but it'll fit on there like that. And this is one of my existing ones from the old one, which I had to thin down, shorten up, so I cut it down so it wasn't as tall. And then I just need to make these side pieces thicker. And I'll make one and then mold it, but that'll go on there like that, and that should work fine. That's the thickness of the ship. As you can see, it doesn't pull in yet on the bottom, but it will. It's fairly, got some flex there. But that's our silhouette so far, with the changes made. So once we, I'm going to go ahead and box this in and make this flat across the front here, so we can get that all, well, boxed in. We've got the pieces that go here, but I've made two, which I'll mold up after I detail them out, and then I'll mold it and cast them. That way they're all pre-detailed and put on here too. And then I'll face this off here. And now I got to put some walls this way, and put a wall across the front here. Get that all the way, sort of a flat front in here. And then glue this all together as one model. And then once everything's all straightened out and glued, I'll take in the bandsaw and just zip it, the whole thing. Just cut it right in half. So you have a left side and a right side. It'll be easier to mold. The detail will be better. It won't be as difficult to build either. So that's the big pluses of it. So yeah, that's it so far. Yeah. Well, the bondoing part of this is almost done. We've now fixed this part here and narrowed it more towards the front. It has more of a taper like it should. Got the side pieces glued on, and this here just has to be cleaned up and flushed out. This here is off, so I haven't decided if I'm going to bring the plastic out to this edge here or pull that edge in. I'll probably end up just sanding that edge in to match. So yeah, bottom has been fixed as well. Today I worked on the back part, which took some time. This was pretty much an all-day event just to try to make sure that was evened out and looked like it should, which is like that. The reflection doesn't get in the way, or that if the reflection doesn't get in the way. They look similar to that anyways. So with the engines off, it's hard to tell because the big round engines on the back, they take up most of this edge here. And doesn't look like the engines are a little taller than the initial body, I think. Let's have a look and see if I can get this crap out of the way. Oh, that's right, I cut this one off with the engines. You can't see it. Anyways, it does look like the engines will be higher up. So I also got these pieces on. Had a much more drastic angle this way. I had a little bit too much that way. But sorry, because it needed this on it anyways. After seeing it has these big, hefty, blocky, stupid glossies, blocky thing right there. It's like the original one did. Just a little more extreme, So yeah, that's what we're getting so far. I'm going to flip it over so you can see the bottom, I guess. Oh, let's move this off the way. Since I'm cutting the model right down the middle, this will be one piece that hides the seam. Like I said, there'll be a piece that I make for this real flat, thin plastic with all the detail, and that'll hide that seam. And same goes all the way around. That's the bottom. I always wondered how they're going to take care of that rear landing gear, because in the TV show it didn't have a rear landing gear. So I was saying, how's that ass heavy model going to, support all that weight? But yeah, it's still some bondoing to take care of. Of course, your sand down. It's still green. And it had these, I noticed it had these little slots with detail in it, and then the strips of detail here. So, and then of course these open areas. And I thought that they were shorter this way, but they're not. They actually go almost all the way up, and it's all filled with, detail stuff. Which I'll see how close I can get to it, as far as making sure it's accurate. Although there's nothing really out there, well, not yet, anyways. So, yeah, that's the model so far. Let's flip back over, and the project goes on. Well, it's all glued together, all one piece, as you can see. Cut the front end open for the cockpit area. Got that all cut out, and so now the next thing to do is to cut this thing in half, which I will do right now, and then put another video up about it. But yeah, anyways, so there you are. There it is. Pretty durable, as you can tell, the way I'm handling it. Boom, boom. All right, that's it. So here it is, cut in half. Probably thinking, oh my God. Trust me, when we mold this up, I got to do some cleanup here, like these pieces here. I have to make them come all the way up. These would be supports for the model so it doesn't sag. I'm also going to make a little box that fits in here. A little resin box that'll keep everything from being crushed and sagged, and add some thickness to the bottom of this box here, so it can a model stand can go in it. So yeah, you think it's nuts doing it this way, but believe it or not, it's going to be a little easier. Now, demolding it will be a little difficult that first time, but once I get it done, it should be all right. So yep, half a ghost, 2 halves of a ghost. So okay, a quick video. This is the strip. It's one strip for all 4 sides. It's all pretty much the same detail. They did that because it's a CG model, and so they made it, it's easier to do it that way and just mirror it. So I made this piece extra long because the back section of the ship is longer than the front, but there is a break point, and that's where the little, looks like the little Lego block is right there. That when I mold this one piece up, and I'll cast up 4 of them and I'll cut it to fit. They all have that sort of transmission looking thing. And all is as accurate as I could possibly get it to the real one. Here, I'll show you. Even as far as the little C-clamp, as I call it. You can see the little, you can C-clamp there. Well, here's my little C-clamp. So as you can see, they're very close. Here's the detail strip. So you can see how a lot of the details match up. Not exactly match up, but they match up close enough. Maybe some super anal retentive person might notice, but this is a CG model. You can't see them because of the lighting in here, but it has the thin pipes there. Well, the pipes are there. What it is, I put a plastic behind them, so when I mold them, they won't, get torn away. I could have made them separate pieces, which you can probably do if you want to cut it away. But again, I am trying to save resin and time. So the details are pretty close, like the circles here. The circles, there's just 2 circles, fairly close. The big transmission looking thing with that, see, it looks pretty close there. Unless it has a bigger tube than mine does there, like looks like some round tank thing. So I'll probably add that on there too. So it's close enough. So as far as I can't see it here, but you can see the little Lego looking block thing right there. Now why they did that is which is right there. I put mine in the middle. This one's more up to the top. That way I can mold again 1 and make 4 of the same one, keeping it as somewhat symmetrical as I can. Oh yeah, sorry. That little Lego looking piece they use on the front end of the blockade runner. If you look at the blockade runner detail on the midsection body and the front inset detail, you'll see that little block. And I think they added that on there as a sort of a homage to it. So also let you know that it's a Corellian ship. they've made a lot of changes, as we know, to make this look more Corellian style than it was in the TV show. So yeah, that's it. Got the engines in today. I haven't trued them up yet to make them level, but this is just going to give you a little video so you can see them. Just sitting here. So yeah, that's how they came out. Came out pretty nice. Little pieces there come out, so you can put lights in them. And detail is, see if there we go. It's pretty dead on to the movie version. So yeah. Here's the engines so far. The transition between the engines and the ship is very crazy, to say the least. It's almost like raised tree roots. The way the transition is, it's hard to see it with pipes and detail. I realized I had to stretch. You'll see it looks a little off right now because what I'm going to do here is, let me put this down. I'm going to have the engines attached to this strip across here. So this one's a little loose. And that's why it's also offset. I'm going to glue it back together here, but it was best to glue it on here first to see, you know, to get everything all lined up and sanded and cut to fit here. And then cutting into the engine, I thought about doing a thing where cutting into this piece, it was easier to cut out the engine, and then I'll fill in the gaps and everything. And yeah, I forgot about that. I thought the engines are too long, but it does have a transition here on the real one as well. So that's what's going on in the lower engines. The piece that the lower engine goes to, the back, let me put this down again, behind this plate here, because this whole thing, these little engines, like my old one, are on a plate. And that plate will have all the detail on it, and just put that entire plate with the engines back in there. So, sorry. Obviously I have my camera upside down because my fingers get in the way. So yeah, the whole plate there, I'll put all the detail on it. And then of course transition from these engines, pipes and things going, diving down into that area. You know, so yeah, it's proven to be an interesting day. I'm having Carl start the shuttle, the Phantom 2 shuttle. So that's being done. It'll be nice having these engines and this all one piece. That way I don't have to worry about alignment problems and all that. It'll be there. And then this piece just fitting in there. And I'm sorry, the back wall here where this goes into is actually crooked somehow. I don't know how. I mean, it's just the way things go. So I'm leveling that out. So when this panel fits in there, it won't be. And crooked, thus throwing these engines off crooked as well. These lower engines here. So, oops, it's a little loose still. See, it's coming loose. I don't want it to be off there yet. Might put a touch of glue on there because I want to run all the wires where they, you know, transition to the other wires underneath, you know, line up. I'm sorry, where they line up. So, and this bottom here, we'll get a flat plate that'll go across this entire thing. This may be altered here. Sorry, this strip here, depending on the width of the shuttle. Another shuttle is about 2.5 inches by 5 inches. Well, the engines are slow going, but we're moving. I keep changing things on it. My latest change are these things again. I don't know how many times I've changed it, but as you can see, they have quite an angle to them, to where they're sloped. But the way I did them originally is, even though I changed the angle originally, I made them more like these engines here. See how they kind of angle and go like that? Well, on the model, it doesn't do that. It's straight. See, it's straight off. So I had to add some spacing block in there. You know, sorry, that's the wing. Spacing block, I got to put a little pipe in there to kind of hide it, I guess. There is a pipe that goes to this little funny little box thing down over to it, I noticed. Don't have the picture up to show you. So that's what I've been doing today, is made the little wing. These are also, all this stuff is, god damn it, focus. There's also stuff to hide seams, so that comes off. And then basically this whole engine section, show how this works, had to put together and then cut it so it would line up with the pipes here. These pipes will stay on there. Then this whole mechanism here, oh yeah, there's a little piece here that kind of acts as a thing to cover that thing there. And then this is how this will be molded. Those pipes sticking out like that. Should work all right, I've done it before. So all in one piece. The little pipes down there might be a problem. I'll figure that out though. You know, sometimes those aren't, because they're such heavy piping. You know, you can sometimes, when you pull it off, the mold will rip a little bit, but it'll rip in a nice way to where when you pull it out and close it, it should be fine. And since it's being molded, well, you know, straight up like this, so that means the mold's like this, it's easier to make sure no bubbles get in those pipes, because you'll see them sticking up through here, because you can see them there, which means that you'll see them in the mold through here. So you can always put a syringe in there and squeeze the bubbles out. So that's that piece. And it changes a little bit to make it fit those things there. And then, well, next you can see that's been the most labor-intensive part of this whole thing, is these. And then once we flip this over, next I'll do the front. The front has all this detail. This is Alain Rivard's, so I'm not going by his. It's just on this page for some reason. Actually, I'm going by, of all things, is the HasLab. The HasLab had the licensing, and the detail is correct, from what I've been able to tell. But even though it's a toy and it's kind of fat and chubby, the details are pretty good. Hard to see it on this picture. You can kind of see the pipes there a little bit, you know. So, but yes, and a few shots like this too help. Nice 4K pictures here. I mean, the front view, front angles shouldn't be a problem. You can see them half pipes there. So the half pipes will be made out of all these pipes that I molded up, what I call Moldo pipes. So there's a bunch of different sizes in here, you know, and whatnot. It's from the Back to the Future train with little square things on it. It's kind of neat. And you can see some have elbows in them. Those will be good for the bottom as well, because it has some of these pipes that kind of bend and go around and stuff, and it has it on the top as well. And yeah, so yeah, these are kind of the greeble, various greebles I go and I try to find the things that look closest to what the parts look like. For the most part, I've had to scratch build them to look like greebles you've seen before, like that piece. To people who knew model making, they probably know where what that piece goes to. I had that in my box, but it was bigger than that, so I had to hand make one of those as well. So, and it's all over the model. There they are again. Then they had some unusual shapes, like those little frames. I don't know what those frames are from, but yeah, they're kind of all over the place too. They're also on the, I turn it around here before this thing runs out. They're also on the top here, but they didn't clip these here off on the top of those frames. There's also, they also go, what they did is they squished them. Let's flip this over again. They put those little frames here as well, but they took them and squeezed them way down. So what I'll do is I'll just make them to look like it and put it in there. So yeah, a few things left to do. Flip this back over. Of course, there's the cockpit all sealed up for molding. That's why it's got super thin plastic there. So when it's molded, it'll look like this, but resin. And you just, it's very soft, so you can either, what I would do is probably use X-Acto blade and scrape them out real quick. But that'll go there like that, of course. And there's those pieces. Those are all over the place too. As well as that. I don't know what that is. It almost looks like a plug-in for, like, you know, like those plug-ins for computer, but they made it flat. This guy isn't finished yet. He's still got some detail on. But, you know, of course, that goes there. The hardest part's been taking the longest is those engines, those freaking engines. So now everything should move pretty quickly. And most of the stuff is, a lot of stuff is done, you know. A few little details to put on this piece and mold that up to get to, you know, just various things, interior parts, you know, whatnot, cockpit parts, which my old cockpit from either kit will work perfectly in, which is a nice thing. It's kind of he made two of these and I used one and kind of cut. This is how it came, but I decided to add the nose to it. So what I ended up doing is gluing the window back on here because it was just going to be easier in the long run. May not seem like it, but it is. Just molded the way I did my old one. So yeah, but these are the parts that are ready and done. You know, get your strip parts, which are very, very close to looking like the ones on the real ship. These, of course, go underneath, big open triangles. Those are very non-descriptive, so I just kind of ran with it. These boxes here are for the interior, I should say, the landing base. So, yeah, and a landing gear is in there too. So that's what's going on. That's it. So here it is, all just kind of setting together. Now I'll do the lights. It has very, very little lights in it. Cockpit and engine lights. There's no side lights on it of any kind. It just is what it is. Light test. Wired into the base and everything. I'm using a 9-volt 1.5 amp transformer for it, very small. It has about 15 LEDs. Let's see, you got 4 or 5 mils in the back. So that's 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, about 15 LEDs in the whole model. And you got these little ones you can hardly see at all. You should put your hand, you can barely see them. I wish they were a little brighter. I probably could make them brighter. I mean, this isn't really glued on, and the LEDs are right there. So it's possible I might be able to redo those, but to get the photo etch out of there, well, that could be a problem. So yeah, that's on the base. Very simple lighting on this model, to say the least. Yeah. And that's it. Tomorrow I'll pull the shuttle mold should be done, and I'll start casting some of those and put some paint on this tomorrow, I hope. All right, that's it. So here's the first resin casting of the Phantom 2. I'll try to take it off here because it's in parts and show you how it comes apart. It shouldn't be hard because it's coming apart already. It's about 5 inches long. Sorry. And this is kind of how it comes apart. Little door in the back. It also comes off. There's a little interior piece in here. It slides out. I didn't make a full interior in the back since you can't really see anything back there. Even if you put a light. Then the little door just pop that out, sorry. Like that. And then there's the door. And that's the kit. Well, here it is with the base coat on. I like this color a lot. It probably looks darker than it really does. The lighting up. But yeah, next comes the colors. This here is the best picture. It's a little bit, just a tad sunset-ish, but it's on a planet with natural light. It was from a deleted scene. But that's what I'm going by. And of course the shuttlecraft, which these pictures are a little dark because of the way I took them, frame grabbed them. So I had to use my camera on the big screen. So yeah, the shuttle is over there, base coated as well. So yep, I'll start putting the grays on and the silvers on the engines and everything like that. And the cockpit is all wired and ready to go. And just to show you how much you cannot really see, you put this on here. With the reflection and everything, it's kind of hard to see in there. But there's enough eye candy in there to do the job, I think.